have to follow your gut instincts and also your moral compass as well when you run a business. There are some decisions that could be harmful. Like for us, we buy our bottles from Boise, Idaho. We want to spend all our money in America. We want to make sure that we're hiring local people and young teenagers as we grow. I'm on the foundation of the Community College of Denver, and we hope to continue our partnership there as we grow our beverage company and actually train young people how to, be entrepreneurs and how to move into the beverage industry.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, a podcast for purpose-led entrepreneurs looking to master the art of buying, selling, or optimizing small businesses. Your host, Chris Seegers, founder of Exceptional Companies and author of Selling Main Street, has over a decade of experience starting, buying, and leading successful businesses. He's here to guide you through the complex world of business transactions and growth. Each week, we dive deep with actionable insights, expert interviews, and real-world strategies to activate and equip you to live exceptionally and build exceptional businesses. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Here's your host, Chris Seegers.
Welcome to the Exceptional Companies Podcast, where we discuss how to buy, sell, or optimize your business. This is your host, Chris Seegers. I'm so excited about my guest today, Daniel Montano. I'm excited to have you on. I want to just give a quick introduction, and then we're going to dig into your story. Daniel is an incredible marketing mind. He's had a ton of success. He owns multiple businesses and has founded multiple businesses. He's a super kind person from my experience, and I can tell he loves to serve his clients. And one thing from our last coffee is he let me know, and we'll probably dig into the story a little bit more, but even after getting hit by a bus on the 16th Street Mall in Denver, he can still do a box jump at least 2 feet high. So that's pretty incredible to me. But Daniel, welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
I love it. So we always start with the story. So give us a little bit of your story, how you got into business, and then I want to dig into Hemp Wolf and take it whichever way you want to go, because I think there's a lot of benefit that can come from our listeners listening to the story about how you grew the business and just the medical piece of CBD and Hemp Wolf and the passion you have for it. So love to hear the story.
Awesome. Well, originally, I have an advertising marketing firm in Denver called Elevation Creation, and we started working about 12 or 13 years ago when hemp and marijuana started getting a name here in Colorado, and we worked with one of the first dispensaries in Colorado, and we saw that also CBD was very popular. And in 2011, I was on a 16th Street Mall, downtown Denver, and it was about noon, and some of the lights were out or something was going on, whatever, but an RTD bus hit me. And luckily it was the bumper, but it broke my tibia and fibula on my left leg. So I was out, and I'm lucky the leg was saved. I'm 99.9% back to health.
Wow.
And it was supposed to take about 52 weeks, a whole year for recovery. But that's when I discovered CBD. I was taking CBD, trying to get off some painkillers, some opiates, the things that you do when you have a major surgery. And I recovered in 24 weeks instead of 52.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went from a walker for 6 weeks, some crutches for a few months, a cane, and I was good to go to even travel. So I really believe in CBD, and that's when I really thought this is something special. And then we started working with a bunch of CBD companies, and one was the largest producer of CBD in the nation, some local companies as well. And we met Eric Underwood, who was one of the co-founders of Dixie Elixir at one time. And he gave us some suggestions and such. And that was kind of our track. And we worked with a lot of other corporate businesses as well during this time. But about a year or two before COVID, we discovered nano CBD. And nano CBD has more potency because it's bioavailable in your body in like 5 minutes. And your body can absorb it 500% faster than regular CBD, which is based off oils most of the time. So we've created a beverage, and that's where Hemp Wolf came about. And here's a little guy. And this is our first product besides the pure water that we use in it. And this is our sweet tea. But our water is coming from Eldorado Springs, Colorado. And we know the folks there, they're very kind folks. And the vice president has been a mentor. And so we use all natural spring water in our beverages. And they're in 2 ounces. So you can see they're very small. So you can carry them on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of fun with this. And then, of course, my advertising firm is the company supporting the product. So we created the brand. And we've had a lot of fun. And most of our investors are part of the company. And we have 14 small investors. I guess you'd call them angel investors here from Colorado. So we plan to ramp up in 2025 and come up with some new products. We have a honey product that we're working on right now as well, and some exciting things. So
I
it's
love it,
great to
man.
be,
So
yeah.
let's dig into CBD because I think generally there's a lot of misconceptions in the market about it. And I think even though it's been around forever, it's a relatively new, product that I think is helping a lot of people in a lot of ways. So tell us a little bit of some of the misconceptions that you guys battle with, why they're false, and then just some of the uses that folks could get out of CBD.
And that's a great question. And, it was discussed a few weeks ago with a friend of mine, and we were doing some digging into this. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that CBD was outlawed like in the 1940s, along with marijuana.
Wow.
And the main misconception is that CBD comes from hemp. And marijuana obviously produces marijuana joints, all the weed that you see out in dispensaries and such. But the problem was that hemp looks exactly like a marijuana plant. It's
Interesting.
from the same genus. It's a cannabinoid, but you can see how the misconception started there. Before that, hemp was used for centuries in Europe to build, rope, make rope,
Mm-hmm.
clothing, all kinds of useful things. Right now in America, after the 2018 Farmers Act bill, you can do flooring with it. There's
Mm-hmm.
wood products that are using it instead of wood, and the fabric is really nice and soft. It's even softer than cotton if it's done correctly. So it's coming back. CBD is now getting a new name. I think it still has that cousin, the marijuana plant, that is really causing hassles. And, we just have to educate our customers that our product has zero THC. So there's no hallucinogenics whatsoever in the product, and it's safe and available in all 50 states.
And so you used it for pain management or anti-inflammation. Like what would be some of the top 3 to 5 things that people would use CBD for?
I say pain is really good. Anxiety and stress is awesome. And because it activates in 4 to 5 minutes, I've had friends who've had migraines and
Mm.
they're immediately gone. And it's safe. You can still work, you can still drive. I find it's kind of enhances cognitive abilities. I feel very focused, very creative. Other
Mm-hmm.
things come up. So it has all the benefits that you might get from other cannabinoids, but it's in a deliverable form of a beverage.
I love it. And I think this movement is happening where people are saying, man, alcohol is so terrible for you. And there's a whole generation that's younger than me that are really saying, we're not going to drink, but they're finding alternative beverages. And that could be CBD beverages. It could be kava, could be ashwagandha. I mean, all kinds of different things that, I don't know anything about the medicine. I'm not a doctor, but it seems like this is a movement that's going to have some legs. And even it's interesting with RFK now on the horizon, and he's saying, hey, let's kind of look at modern medicine and pharmaceuticals and throw out what's not working and keep what is, and then add in some of the things that maybe have a stigma to it. It could be, man, you could have something pretty, rocket ship here. So that's awesome.
I believe so. I really do. I really believe strongly in the product, its benefits. An example would be one of our smaller investors is a former Air Force, was formerly in the Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and he has had multiple surgeries. And a couple of years ago, he'd gained some weight. He was really a grumpy guy. And
Mm-hmm.
his wife came to me and said, what's going on? He tried some of the Hemp Wolf beverages, and 2 days later, he's shoveling snow. He's a regular client and friend and an investor now, and he takes it regularly. Him and his wife thought about, changes in their life, and they decided to go to Florida for their health. And they are daily consumers. They just take one beverage a day. In fact, last week, Pam, his wife, just had knee surgery, or knee replacement, and she's taking 2 a day. And so she's kind of where I was in 2011. She's going to recover, I hope, much quicker, and she's in good spirits and a lot less stress too. I always find that it calms the nerves and really helps with your focus.
I
Definitely.
love it. Okay, so let's dig into the business side.
Yeah.
So we've started a bunch of businesses and have bought a bunch of businesses. We also help people sell businesses and coach people on how to buy and sell businesses. Talk to me about just the startup mode that you're in, because we've started a few and it's tough, man. So what are some of the lessons? Because you started Elevation Creation a while back and now you've started another one. And so things have probably, you've probably forgotten some part of it. So walk me through some of the lessons you've picked up and just being back in the trenches.
Well, it all comes from good marketing and advertising, and that's essential. We've been helping, we've worked with probably 1,000 small businesses and corporations over my 20 careers as an advertising strategist. And we've seen a lot of pitfalls. We've seen people make big mistakes, small mistakes, big corporations putting an 800 number that goes nowhere on promotional materials. We've seen missed deadlines that clients, miss an exhibit, a trade show, just because they haven't prepared. So all of those things we've learned how to really plan out our strategy and also look forward to changes in the industry. As you said, we're looking forward to 2025. It looks like we're going to maybe have some movement with the FDA so that CBD will be allowed in all forms and perhaps even in food products. That's why we're looking into developing the honey, because it's kind of considered a food product. So all of these things are exciting. And one of the things that we find is you have to start off with a really good brand. If you probably have seen so many CBD products on the market, whether it's in Sprouts or natural grocers, and they're gone in 2 or 3 months. You look at the name, you look at the packaging, and it's just weak. Most of the time, it's just
Interesting.
very weak. Yeah.
So you think that's a marketing play more than anything? Because I agree with that. There were these CBD cinnamon barrels in Sprouts that were there forever and seemed to be very popular. And then I went back there the other day and I was like, oh, those are gone. I wonder what happened to that. So you think it's a marketing and branding issue?
I really do. I really do. I think
Interesting.
Hemp Wolf is a great name. I mean,
So walk us through that. How did that come up? Because I love it too. And I love that your email is wolf@hempwolf.com. I love that too. But walk us through that story.
Well, I hope people don't think that's a fake, email, but it is wolf@hempwolf.com. And well, part of it is a good name, as you see, like with Kool-Aid or Bear Aspirin and any of the greats. It's easy to remember. And we're in Colorado, so we definitely wanted to have a symbol or something that represented our state. We're the largest producer of hemp in America. Our state is still number one. And so we're very proud of that. And we're in a very favorable position to grow our company because we have a governor. We also have our senators and congressmen and women are very much pro hemp. And so I really think that we have, some wind to the back of our sides here to move forward in our sales. And I also think one of the strongest points is having an all natural product. I mean, we're in Colorado and we're known as pioneers. And I think that also has a nice momentum as pioneers, whether it's in recycling, whether it's in all natural, whether it's all natural beef, and all the things that we produce in our state. So we have an advantage there that other states don't have. And we have supportive people. I think the community around hemp is just amazing. And that's why we're in this business. We started working, as you know, we've been working with a lot of corporate clients, but when we started working with the folks in hemp, they're just amazing folks. They're genuine, salt of the earth folks, easy to work with. And we thought, hey, we want to continue down this path. So we're really happy to be part of the community and very supportive. We're in a dispensary now in Cherry Creek and also on East Colfax called Thieves and Police. And that's the dispensary name. And they're selling our product in their place at the moment, which is really great. And they're awesome folks. And we actually met them at the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And I had no idea there was a Cannabis Chamber of Commerce until like 2 months ago. And
so are you going to start the Hemp Chamber of Commerce? You need to.
I think we've
and
got
be like, you know what? Now I'm the president of that. I just started it.
They have a good group, and we meet at pubs or at local places here in Denver, and a super, super great team of folks they have. So I don't think I want to compete with that at all.
I love it. Okay, so what's been some of the toughest things going through the startup phase again? What are the things you're like, man, I forgot how tough this piece of it was? For us, the capital raise piece, the growing revenue and clients piece is always harder. It always takes longer than you think it is. But what are some areas that you've been like, man, this has been tough?
One of the toughest things is to differentiate ourselves away from marijuana. And, the banks have a problem with that. Everybody seems to have a problem with that. Once they know we're hemp, everything's fine. But that's always a hurdle because they're like, well, you're going to have some kind of extra fees for your banking or this and this
Hmm.
and this. And really, there should not be any of those hurdles here. And I think it's just education. Eventually, this is changing, and it's a grassroots supports too. I think the public and citizens in America want CBD, and they want to have availability, and they want to have it affordable. And so I think things are on our side. And I think you had mentioned too, alcohol is far more dangerous than CBD could possibly be. And so I hope that the FDA, obviously with good leadership and new changes, will see that hemp is a positive in the community and for their citizens of America, and will let it fly through and approve some new laws. Definitely.
I love it.
Do you like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now and check out our website, www.excoadvisors.com. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
Okay, so if you think about somebody who's 20 years younger than you, so a young entrepreneur, young Daniel, just up and coming, tons of energy, what's some advice you would give them on how to build something great? Because I think there's a lot of folks in social media who are talking about make a lot of money and build this thing really quickly instead of saying, hey, why don't we build something lasting that has a tremendous amount of impact and influence on our community and also does make money?
Right.
But what's some advice you would give some young folks?
DIY, do it yourself. Because when I came out of college, there was we were still doing traditional typesetting. And Steve Jobs was one of our, inspiration. I got my first Macintosh and paid it off in 3 months. And I knew something special was there. So we started doing advertising, marketing. We were probably the first in the state to even compete against the big ad agencies because we adopted the technology so fast. So I love technology. And I think that's also why nano CBD is something that I have passion for. But technology will always be your advantage. So a young entrepreneur, I would say, get Instagram for Dummies, the book, and do everything you can to learn about how to offer that. In my marketing firm, we charge $300 to set up an Instagram account or a Facebook account or an Instagram account because seriously, businessmen and women who are older don't know how to do that. They don't know how to manage and go through the ins and outs of social media. So there's definitely a need for that out there, a huge need. So Elevation Creation is known for social media, and that's something I even have to work on right now. It's ever changing. And if you think about it, 8 years ago, there was probably no Twitter. There was no, barely at that time, YouTube was coming around, and you can see how Thread just came around last year. So keeping on top of technology will be your advantage, and also you'll be desirable for employment because companies will see you with some skill sets that other people do not have.
Would you recommend people start a business or go into the employment side? Because there's a lot of different philosophy on whether there's a entrepreneurial gene or not, which I don't believe there is, whether some people can do entrepreneurship or not, which I don't believe. But what are your thoughts? If you had, somebody that was coming out of college and you, in today's day and age, so going into 2025, what would you recommend? And obviously everyone's different, but how would you frame that for somebody?
Wow, that's a great question. I really think it's someone who's a multitasker. You always have to be a multitasker to have your own business. If you want a very safe position and, a steady salary, you're going to be much happier at a corporation that can say, here's the roadmap and this is what you need to do. But I'm kind of ADA, so I need to have a variety of things and I wear multiple hats. And I'm always learning. I mean, I think the love of learning is everything in an entrepreneur because you have to learn how to do your books, whether it's online or now in the cloud or wherever it may be. I mean, you go back to the basics of the fundamentals of math and business, but you need to apply it to the new applications out there. And it is frustrating, but you see any good business is always evolving. Whether you're in manufacturing, they have to buy new equipment, every 4 or 5 years or they'll become dinosaurs. You have to reinvent yourself. And I think America needs to reinvent themselves too. I mean, think of our automobile industries and other industries. If you really don't reinvent yourself, whether it's in EV or anything else, somebody else is going to. So I think the passion of always changing and always looking for improvement is important.
Yeah, I love that. And we call ourselves professional problem solvers. And I think if you like problems and don't get discouraged by them, you'll have a ton of success in the entrepreneurial world, because that's all it is. I mean,
True.
business is fairly simple. It's just every day you're going to have to solve a different problem that
Uh-huh.
maybe has happened or maybe hasn't happened. And if you hate that, if you're like, wow, that just stresses me out, it might be tougher for you. But if you're like, man, I'm like you, I want to start a business or buy a business every year, and in an industry that I know nothing about, because I'm like, man, that's fascinating. What could we learn from HVAC that we could bring over to financial services or shipping or any of our business units? I love that. What's some bad advice you've heard either on your entrepreneurial journey or that you've heard other people give to young entrepreneurs?
Well, I'd say for Hemp Wolf, the bad advice would be, oh, you've got to add THC, you got to make this hallucinogenic, you've got to get somebody high. And why would I compete against marijuana? I mean, and do that. And also, all the legalities, all the licensing, and the hurdles would be just enormously ridiculous. And then, even just a year ago, someone wanted to order, yeah, and it was tempting. Someone wanted to order 10,000 bottles of our product if we could put Delta 8 in it or Delta 9, whatever. And those are pretty much outlawed anywhere in our state because they don't even originate from hemp plants. They're synthetic. And so that's bad advice. I mean, I certainly don't want to close down my company because you make one mistake with one order. So you're always hearing different approaches and different advice, and you have to follow your gut instincts and also your moral compass as well when you run a business. There are some decisions that could be harmful. Like for us, we buy our bottles from Boise, Idaho. We want to spend all our money in America, and we
I
want
love
to
it.
make sure that we're hiring local people and young teenagers as we grow. So I'm on the foundation of the Community College of Denver, and we hope to continue our partnership there as we grow our beverage company and actually train young people how to, be entrepreneurs and how to move into the beverage industry.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, what about some tools, apps, resources, books, or just things that you're like, man, the last 6 months, this has created a lot of value in my life that you'd like to share with our
Sure.
audience?
Well, I tell all my clients to get Instagram for Dummies because, it's the new social media platform where everyone is using, even though it looks like it's entertainment. When it especially comes to retail products, you can really get an audience and a following. And also a profile. If you look at our profiles, we're able to, on LinkedIn or others, I'm able to invite people who are part of community leaders and such. And so you can basically create a profile for your company as well. And people don't know that. They just think, oh, it's just something I can do for fun. But when you're touching social media, you're actually creating your own profile. So whether it's professional or for your business, you kind of look at that and make sure it works because people are looking at that, and that's how they'll judge
Mhm.
whether they want to hire you or buy your product, the stories that you have around your product. Yeah, and we're also trying to tie into the reintroduction of the wild gray wolf here in Colorado. And so we're a sponsor of some of their initiatives in a balanced way, of course, because we do respect ranchers and we understand their needs as well. But, get involved. I think being involved makes a huge difference and it moves a
Yeah,
company forward fast.
no
Yeah.
doubt. I love that. So, Instagram for Dummies. One thing that we've really been dialing in is how we can automate all of our softwares. And there is some tremendous tools, and they're not even AI. It's just technology that's been around that ties in every piece of your software so it communicates together. And I think there's so much efficiency there. And
Absolutely.
even this podcast, so I use a group called Push Button Podcast, and they are phenomenal. The guy who founded it is named Richard. He's just a wonderful human, and he's one of the greatest thinkers I've ever met. And
Nice.
so what they do is we create the podcast right now, and
Hmm.
then they actually cut it up, edit it, and push it on every single social media platform. So they do all of that. And then
Nice.
they're building all these other automations that are going to help us actually get in front of the right audience and really understand what type of content we need to be creating. And he had created a bunch of AI automations within Google Sheets where I could create 100 episodes of
Wow.
content. Like, hey, here are 100 topics, just by going through some of the things that I had mapped out earlier. And it would have taken me 10 hours. It took me 5 seconds, right?
Oh,
Like
Absolutely.
So I love finding people like that and every time I call him, because he and I talk every month almost, every time I talk to him, he's like, okay, that's cool, Chris, but let me tell you about the new thing that we're working on for our clients. It's even way better. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Like, keep me in on that. So
Nice.
I
Nice.
love that, man. Always learning and figuring out how to communicate better in today's environment. And I'll push back on your previous one on technology. One of the things that I've said to young people to have a huge advantage is understanding how to do face-to-face interaction really well.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're a pro at that, Daniel. When we met for coffee up in Castle Rock, you walked in, you just have this great personality and great storytelling. And immediately I was like, we can be friends, right? Like, you just stepped into the room with this just positive energy. Well, a lot of young people don't have that because they've spent more time socially online as opposed to in person.
Right.
And
Right.
so with our kids and younger folks, I'm like, look, a huge advantage is to be able to understand how to communicate and lead people in person and
Mhm.
online, right? Both pieces are a superpower, but I think that's a lost art of how to build community and friendship.
Absolutely. You know what? If I would give some advice to a young person who's going into college or is in college right now, I would say do public debate. I
I
see
love
any
that.
of the great leaders and businessmen and women out there, they know how to talk in front of an audience and such. And I was very fortunate. I had some professors when I was in college who made me critique the class, whether it was their marketing brand or whatever it was, and they were actually kind of I was the prodigy, but they were kind of, I don't know, they saw that I had the ability to do that, but I needed practice. And so
Mhm.
they made sure I had the practice. So being in front of an audience, the 1 minute pitch, I always hear the elevator pitch. It really is
Mhm.
true. When you meet somebody,
Yep.
you have to tell immediately what you do. And especially if you're looking for a job, you have to say,
Mhm.
but here's one great piece of advice for anyone who's young. Everyone's frustrated because you're always applying for a job. But remember, the people that you are going to be working with, they're going to be with you 40 hours a week. You need to interview them. Do you really want to
Mhm.
work for a company that is dismissive of your
Mhm.
resume or insulting when you try to reach them on the phone? So you are also interviewing the company. And you need to put yourself in that position so that you feel you have the strength and the power to walk in there with confidence because you're also judging that company. And is it worth your time to spend your life in that space?
Yep.
So I know that
I
sounds a
love
little
that.
bit arrogant, but it really means trust in yourself and follow the path that really is going to be compatible with your
Yeah,
skill
I don't
sets.
think that's arrogant at all. And actually, I want to key off something you mentioned. So you said trust your gut and have a moral compass. And when we coach entrepreneurs, even when they're selling their business, we created a tool called the Clarity Tool. And we go through first, like identifying your purpose statement. Why are you here in life?
Hmm.
What's the thread that's going to thread through your entire life? What's that lighthouse that is always going to be guiding you? And then your core values, and those would be the guide rails. What will I do and not do in life?
Right.
And that should guide everything you do. That should guide why you start your business. That should guide your marriage if you end up getting married. That should guide how you raise your kids, how you do business. And so we really try to dial that in with our team or other folks and say, hey, if you don't have clarity on who you are and your core values, you're just blown in the wind and you're
Yeah.
willing to bend to other people's core values. And like you said, if you go into an interview and you understand one of your core values is kindness and it's a bunch of jerks, you should
Right.
immediately walk out and say, hey, this seems like a great company, but it's just not a fit for me because one of my core values is kindness. And you guys seem like that's not a value. And we found that in a lot of different businesses. And when we take a buyer and a seller and we match them on core values,
Nice.
because if someone's selling their business and they say, my people and my clients are the most important thing, I'm like,
Mhm.
great, this is the type of buyer that's going to be a fit. And private equity or venture capital probably isn't a good fit because they're going to
Right.
smash a bunch of companies together, roll them up, and then eventually destroy the value, I think. So I think understanding, and that I always ask people, hey, when I interview people, I say, what's your purpose? What's your why? Why do you
Hmm.
exist?
Hmm.
And I've never had one person I've interviewed have a good answer. It's like, well, it's this. It's usually like, well, I should think about that. Or maybe it's family, or maybe it's money, or maybe it's this. So I love that, man, is just aligning with your moral compass and writing that out.
Right, absolutely. And I think I discovered, my why is the word creativity because it's the guiding light with whether it was when in print production, now video production, website production, and now with Hemp Wolf. Because I find that creating, we have the sweet tea, but we have lavender lemonade, we have a coffee, and that's creative. I mean, product development is really creative. So I think that's the thread that's keeping all my companies together. And it really is the why.
I love it. Well, we're going to end there, but Daniel, thank you so much. And guys, find your why, find your purpose. Ours is to activate and equip others to live exceptional lives. And Daniel's is creativity. And you are creative, man. I've loved getting to know you and appreciate you being on the show. And we'll have to have you back and hear how Hemp Wolf progresses.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time. And yeah, everyone, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and trust your heart and you'll find the path for sure.
I love it, man. Have a happy Thanksgiving here in a couple days, and we'll catch up soon, Daniel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Exceptional Companies Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you liked this show, please reach out through our website, www.excoadvisors.com, for free tools to order a copy of Selling Main Street, or to sign up for our free webinar on how to sell your Main Street business.